Hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, Source Better Housing Sites Fast with Giraffe. We're going to give folks a couple minutes just to join the webinar. While we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and introduce quickly our panelists today. We've got James Blackwood. James is a co-founder of Giraffe, and he'll be running the demo today. We've got Bryan of LJA Engineering. And Bryan will be talking about the Central Texas market, some dynamics, some will be in Q&A, providing the expertise around Giraffe. And you could join us today. I'm David Smolker. I am new to Giraffe. This is my first webinar with this illustrious team, and I'm very pleased to be here with you all. As I get to know Giraffe, as I get to know the ropes here, I'm just grateful that you all could come on this journey with us. We're going to be talking about multifamily housing today, particularly how to select great sites. And without further ado, let's get into our program. Let's start with some housekeeping. You all are probably familiar with webinars at this point, but in case you're not, we've got the audio settings today that you can join from a Zoom link, or you can dial in by phone. Look for your confirmation from Zoom for that phone number. And you can check your speakers as we get started here if there's any issues. We've got the chat open, so use the chat for quick comments and reactions. We'll also be sharing some links to some resources as we go through. And then we've got, as I mentioned, Holly on the Q&A. So submit your questions anytime in the Q&A panel. We'll do our best to get to them immediately, and we may nominate some to answer live. You can upvote those questions. We'll get to as many as we can. And then I'll note that this webinar is being recorded. We'll share the recording afterward, so look out for that if there's anything you'd like to revisit. Our agenda today, it's jam-packed, it's fun. We're excited about this demo we're going to run with James and Bryan. We're going to start by talking about some things that are new to Giraffe and get you oriented around Giraffe 5.4. Then we're going to get some field notes with Bryan Berry, what he's seeing in the Central Texas market and across the Austin metro area. Then we're going to get into this faster feasibility workflow with James. And then we'll leave you with a sense of what's coming. We've got more events in the pipeline that we'd love for you to attend, and some resources. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on YouTube, that kind of thing. So I know that many of you who are attending this call have probably dove into Giraffe a bit. Maybe you're using it every day. Maybe it's part of your practice. There are also those of you, I'm assuming, who maybe don't know about Giraffe, and you got into this webinar just to learn more about the platform. So I'm going to give you a brief overview here for the newcomers. Giraffe was founded in 2017 out in Australia. James was one of those co-founders. And it is a platform that integrates geospatial analysis. I like to think of it as a map, design. I like to think of it as a pencil, and project analytics. So I like to think of it as a calculator. And we're specifically looking to support land development industries from real estate to urban planning to architecture. And our mission is to become the operating system for property and for place. Our customers choose Giraffe for feasibility studies. They do it for master planning, urban design, real estate portfolio management, and we see new things from our customers every day in terms of how they can use the platform to their advantage. So if you're new to Giraffe, check out our website. Trials are free. You can jump right in. We've got a great knowledge base that Holly has built, so you can find that. You can get started, and we'd love to hear your feedback as you get into it. So moving right along, in August, we released Giraffe 5.4. So when you log into Giraffe now on your browser, this is the version of Giraffe that's available to you. 5.4 was packed with a bunch of upgrades, including to the isolate tool, so that you can draw with more control and clarity, especially as you're programming complex building types. The one that I know James is very excited about is the bulk property edit, right? So maybe you're dealing with big databases of parcels. Maybe you need to add properties to them. You can now do that through a bulk process. So it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster, it's a lot less time intensive. And that's not all. We also have made updates and releases for our algorithms. So the apartment flow 2.0, which allows you to define configurations and unit mix to simplify the process for multifamily buildings. We've made it easier to assign usages, solve for balcony conditions, and tweaked the UI. And we've also revamped the parking flow. So no more of that manual drawing of stalls. We've improved how the algorithm addresses edge islands, center islands, special lanes, and spaces. And it's much easier to add no parking zones as well. So you'll find those tools in the latest release. Check it out in the flows palette. We're anxious to see what you think. And we'll provide some links to a full rundown of what's new in Giraffe 5.4 so that you can dive in either to the webinar that we presented back in August, or we've got some release notes you can review as well. But great release, a lot of cool stuff, and we're excited to hear what you think about it. So that's the preamble. Let's get into the gist of our program here. So as I mentioned before, we've got Bryan Berry of LJA Engineering here with us today. And I'm going to pass it over to James to provide some introductions and to get us into the meat of the program. James, over to you.
Thanks, David, and hello, everybody. Really excited to talk about this topic and have Bryan here with us. Bryan is a legend. Bryan and I met sometime this year, and we've enjoyed getting to know each other through really Giraffe at LJA. And I'll let Bryan, I don't want to steal your thunder, but when we do webinars, we want to provide two levels of value to you as somebody who's watching this content. One is what's happening with our software, which is obviously what we care about as a technology builder. But the reason we're building great software is because we're trying to address these problems around how our cities are built and constructed. And our cities are built and constructed not just by technology alone, but by subject matter experts like yourselves on the call and like Bryan Berry. And you can't do one without the other. They kind of interplay together, and it's an ecosystem of parts that lead to really good outcomes in our cities and lead to the unlocking of housing supply, which is across the world a major issue right now. So we asked Bryan if he wouldn't mind coming and sharing with us a little bit about what's happening in Texas, specifically Central Texas. And we're going to use that to then springboard into our demonstration around some of the cool things we're doing with Giraffe. So Bryan, thanks, man. Thank you very much for joining the call. I appreciate you spending some time with us. I'd love to hear a little bit about LJA. If you give us maybe a snapshot on what your firm does, and then let's talk about the changes to housing policy in Texas.
Yeah, of course. And first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate all the time we've spent together and everything that you've done to set LJ up with Giraffe and just you and your team have been outstanding, and we really appreciate all of the customer service and just teamwork that has gone into this. So appreciate
Pleasure.
that. Yeah, a little bit about LJA. We are a national civil engineering firm. We have 8 different sectors within civil engineering that we offer, but I think our biggest year over year and how we got our start in Houston was land development. And now where we started with one office in Houston, and then the next was here in Austin, we are up to over 80 offices around the country and over
Awesome.
2,000 folks with us. So and growing. That's one of our pillars at LJ is just growth in general. So but I'm here in our Austin, Texas office. We are, we kind of our Central Texas team is made up of an office in San Antonio and then another in Round Rock, which is just north of Austin, a suburb. And, obviously, we do all types of land development, right? Everything from single family down to the small C-store, strip center, and everything in between. But we have historically had a heavy emphasis on multifamily. And that's where, I see a lot of the benefit out of Giraffe being applied to, but roughly 8,000 on average units a year. And obviously there's fluctuation there with the market, but a lot of what we do and why we have so many repeat clients is and as many of the people on this call, I'm preaching to the choir, but client service and building relationships is paramount to this industry, and trust,
Yep.
reliability. And so, I say all that because Giraffe is not just a tool that can help you look at sites, but it's something that is, and can be very interactive with between client and consultant.
Mm.
Um, and it's more so just a convenience, when in terms of that type of client service and relationship building. So
Yeah, I love that.
Giraffe really takes into account a lot of the feasibility, the typical feasibility services that we offer. And we call part of our feasibility studies a constraints map, and I know we've talked quite a bit about that. um, is that it's a faster way to really dive into the feasibility of the project or the property, and then build a constraints map that really hones in on the developable area that a developer has to work with. And then obviously, as you'll show and demo here, that it doesn't stop at the constraints. It really dives into and allows you to explore on the fly the massing and the density that you're able to achieve on any given property. And so, you know, if I thought I'd make sure that I'd be conscious of the folks on this call maybe not as familiar with Central Texas um, when talking about some of the challenges. But Central Texas, unlike many other parts of Texas, is not very flat. We have significant topographic challenges, and not just topographic challenges, but depending on the municipality that you're in, different regulations around the grading and the earthwork that you're allowed to do on those sites. And so being able to pull in the topo on the fly for any given site that we're looking at is very important when planning a site.
Mm.
Similarly, and one of the things that Giraffe addresses is the all of the zoning and watershed regulations, right? So you can pull in different layers so that you'll be able to tell what the current zoning is, and also the watershed, and whether or not you're over the aquifer. We have the Edwards Aquifer here in Texas, and if you are, and there's different zones within, associated with that aquifer, and certain requirements that you have, whether it be, you know, in the Barton Springs zone, for example, in Austin, heavy impervious cover challenges and different water quality and environmental regulations. And so being able to see those layers on the fly is one of the most important things in site planning. So,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and that level of understanding on top of the GIS data is demonstrative, I think, of how this industry works. The data by itself is helpful, but if you have no idea how to read it, it's very, you're out of luck, so to speak. And that's why I think we love having someone like you on the call to show how these things work together. The technology is one component, but the expert advice from a real planner that knows what they're talking about is crucial to get these things across the line. So we'll
Yeah,
show some of that when we get to in the
and
demo.
exactly. And the next bullet there, ETJ versus city regs. I mean, this is where the local knowledge of the consultants will really come in, because this knowledge and experience that the civil engineer will have, or planner, or architect, is really what then needs to be applied to the constraints map
Yep.
in the massing study. And so, being able to apply that quickly to a constraints map is key to being able to assess a site. Some of the trends in multifamily projects, and how the legislation of the new Senate Bill 840, um, we still have quite a few multifamily projects ongoing. I think those multifamily projects are probably a result of unique developer situations where, maybe a developer had land tied up, or has had that land tied up for quite a while, and has the ability to move on it at a lower basis, or the site is in a unique location and allows, it's a slam dunk to equity. I mean, that's really the only equity that we've really been seeing moving lately, is just the slam dunk situations. But we are seeing equity start to move in other more typical projects. And the developers that really want to be out in front of the turnaround here of the market have been coming to us and saying, either with a site to look at, or asking us if we have sites to look at, or if we
Yeah.
know of any, which a lot of times we do. We have a single family department that um, specializes in master plan community, and a lot of times out of those we have multifamily tracks that are cut out and reserved for multifamily. Um, but
Awesome.
the game changer here that we have on the screen is Senate Bill 840. For those that are not familiar with it, if we knew it was coming after the session, and just a few weeks ago it went into effect, um, where under this bill, the multifamily is now um, allowed under any site that is currently zoned commercial, and that's by right. And so no zone change is needed, which is huge when developers are going out and trying to find sites. And so there's quite a few places around Austin where you've got worn or aged retail that
Right.
that you've got land that just needs a facelift. And so it really opens up opportunities, and some of the constraints that go along with the commercial zoning that is on that site are then applied to the multifamily use, in terms of height and setbacks, and it's even unlimited Florida area ratio. So it's
Yes.
really,
Unbelievable.
yeah, it's
And
really a
I was
game
reading,
changer.
Brian, that there is a minimum height. It even seems, I could be wrong about that, but it seems like there's a minimum, like you have to achieve some density, otherwise you're not really
Yeah,
fulfilling the
greater
mandate.
than 45 feet, or the height that applies to the commercial use.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's a very helpful platform to springboard from, Brian. Thanks for going through that. I thought, as a way to take what you've described, we might focus on Central Texas. And the point we're all here for is to talk about and discover some ways to go and look for more sites and do that developable area analysis really quickly. When a lot of people think about Giraffe, they think about um, us as a massing tool, and we are a massing tool. But we also do this site search use case, or the constraints mapping that you're talking about, and it becomes a great back and forth between teams, be even just yourself trying to figure out density. But when you are then in a position to say, hey, I now want an LJA or somebody in that position to do that detailed, risk adjusted and assured advice back to you, then it's a simple share away, and you've already done quite a lot of that analysis. So I thought I'd just share this screen here, and we can talk through all different features and functions, but I want to follow this thread of, hey, we're in Central Texas. There is a ton of data we need to look at in order to do our desktop due diligence. But the step before that is, let's find some commercial sites in Travis County that may or may not work, right? And so I'm just going to go through this with the tools in Giraffe without any setup, and or I should say without any configuration. I've certainly done some setup, and just see what happens. Okay, so we may stumble upon something great, we may stumble upon something nonsensical, but either way, it'll be fun. So what we're looking at here is my Giraffe environment, and I have on the left-hand side a bunch of data that I've got organized around Central Texas. This is all just GIS data, okay? All of this is publicly available. Austin make a great load of this data available in a nice, easy to manage situation. And on the right here, I have an application, and this application is focused on one job. I want to find parcels that meet a certain criteria. So it's a very simple user experience. It's a form. I hit a button, it goes to regrid, and it returns to me some results. So we're going to start there. We're going to find some parcels. We're going to whittle them down, and then we're going to do our desktop due diligence. So let's do it. Let's go to Travis County, and I want to look for sites that are zoned commercial, that are greater than 2 acres, and I want to see as many as I can. Show me 1,000 of them. So this is now running via an API, and is going to return to us a bunch of sites. That alone is a massive game changer for a lot of folks, just having that ability to go and run. Now, you can hit this API in lots of different ways, and if you are laying the foundation for agentic AI type searches, then an agent can go and run that search for you and iterate on those searches as well. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the call. The two that we have as form-based here is zoning search and owner search. Okay, so now I've got this table of 1,000 sites, right? 1,000 is better than infinite, but it's still a lot. So let's go now and add some more filters. The table down the bottom here is a universal experience across the Giraffe UX. You can see the table's kind of like Excel. I've got way too much data here, right? But tons of data at my fingertips that I can go and start using to filter these sites down further. On the regrid data set, I know there's one called land value. So I'm interested right now in commercial sites that are valued low. This is the taxable value. And the reason I want to see what's valued low is because low typically will indicate something that is vacant. Okay? If it's high value, it's probably got land on it, right? So I'm going to say, okay, let's go in here and look for sites that are valued at less than 2 million. So when I do that, I get another subsection of sites. Now we're down to still quite a lot of sites, to be honest with you, because there's all these regional ones out here, but I'm looking for ones that are close to the city. So let's go have a quick squiz. Let's have a look at this little fella here. And I'm just going to click on him. Notice when I click on it, it's showing me what the zoning code is. This is all regrid data set. I can go read the Austin zoning code. Pretty epic. I might turn on the satellite. This is probably some convention center or something. So it looks too good to be true. I'm going to go out here a bit more regional by the airport. And as I turn on the satellite, let's see what we've got here. We've got vacant commercial by the parking lot. There's this big over here. So now we might not be wanting to build multifamily out here, but maybe a hotel or something. Either way, this is a good site that we'll use for these dummy purposes. So let's grab this guy right here. I like him. I'm going to click on him. Again, we can see who the owner is. Austin Highway 71 Investments. Pretty epic. So let's turn this into a project. So if I want to save this, I would right click on this and hit save project. In this case, I'm actually already in a project. So I'm just going to say, make this my boundary. And that's going to now form the basis of my desktop due diligence. I am also keeping track of how I tag my projects here, so I can come back to this. And just so you can quickly see, I've done this for hundreds of sites in Austin, and all of them are junk. There's no real projects here. This is all just dummy stuff that I've gone and done. But keeping track of your projects at scale in and of itself is a valuable thing. Finding sites and then keeping track of them, very, very valuable. And the thing we mentioned at the start, we can now get in here and actually say, I want to change this to a deal that I'm working on, and that saves in the table. So back to our site. All right, obviously understanding the boundary and the site and the ownership and the zoning is one thing, but this job Brian's talking about of, okay, now we have a heap of other data that we need to go and do to see if this is feasible. There's two kinds of desktop due diligence we want to do. One is the market. Is this a feasible site from a rental yield point of view? So we, just like we partnered with Regrid to get parcel and zoning data, we've also partnered with Hello Data to get comps. And again, this can be done agentically. We are working on that foundation right now. What you're looking at here is a form-based experience. So I'm going to say, let's go look for apartments. We think we can probably get around 200 units. We're going to do a garden style thing. So let's make it 4 stories. And I want to see comps within a 5-mile radius of my site. Okay. So when I do that, you see it's marking up where those comparables are. And then I can just score. I can score Hello Data is doing the job of scoring these projects already, how far away it is, how similar it is based on the characteristics and the location. None of them are perfect. You can see there's some really good projects right around here. So I'm going to select these ones here. And maybe even, let's get 3. I want to see, let's go this guy right here, okay? And then we'll say, go look at a report. Now, what I'm looking for here is concessions and rental yield. So you can see this is, if you've ever used Hello Data or a comp data set, basically this is their data set. We're not trying to do anything new here. We're trying to take that data and present it to you when you're in the site selection workflow, because that's where it's most meaningful. Is this market, is this sub-market even viable? So you can see I've got a rental yield here for 1 bedders. So I may take the average there. I've got a rental yield here for 2 bedders. You can see there's some variation. There's no 3 bedders in this comp set that I've got. But what's cool here is, as anyone who's doing multi knows, the detail of the comps is everything. What's happening in those units. And I can actually go look at the entire rent roll and the variation of the units, the amount of amenity. Again, this is not Giraffe specialty. This is Hello Data specialty. The key here is that we're bringing it into that one environment so that you can make an assessment at the earliest stage. And I can't say enough about Hello Data. It's an incredible data set. If you haven't used it, you should. And then I can always download that and chuck it in a PDF or chuck it into Excel and go from there. So that's due diligence step number 1. Can we support rents that are high enough to even make this thing worth looking at? 2 is due diligence of the planning constraints. And this is what Bryan was talking about. Now, there is a myriad of things in Central Texas that become painful. And I don't understand them all. We need a guy like Bryan. We need a firm like LJA to help us really get down to that last level of detail and certainty. But these tools can help us. And this tool right here is a new tool that we're working on, and we have some pilot customers out there that have got great templates that we've done the deep due diligence dive on. This is a sample, so this is not going to be fully comprehensive. But what this does is say, okay, I have over 200 layers over here on the left, maybe 300 layers. It's unfeasible for me to sit there and turn them all on and off and try and understand what intersects with the site. So let's use a little AI to go and plumb the depths of those data sets and reveal back to us what we need to know about this site. So there's 2 cool things happening here. And if you add over LJA's expertise over the top, or someone like LJA, you have a very powerful thing. 1 is data collation. 2 is some AI intelligence to help us read the report. But 3, the expertise to know what to put in the report. That's where you actually end up having a very, very fast and viable feasibility machine, not just from a market comps point of view or a site selection point of view, but this detailed due diligence report of what problems we have on the site. So I won't spend too long here because you can see I could spend all day here. There's an enormous amount of stuff that is being revealed to me that I can then drop out as a PDF, and I could take the time to go through each one. But I do want to mock up a couple of things here, okay? So you can see that report's giving me a bunch of stuff. I need to then translate that into a map that's going to help me, like the constraints map that Bryan was talking about. So I'm going to do a couple of it. I'm just going to draw on the map. We're not going to do any massing today. We're going to assume that we don't want to draw. We're afraid of drawing. We want the experts to do that. But we do want to understand this site as best as we can. I'm just going to do some drawings. I'm going to go to the markups and I'll say, let's just identify this creek that's running through here. I just want to leave an arrow so that we don't forget there's a problem there. And I will write here, I want to leave a little comment that says potential wetlands issue. Okay, so I'm leaving those visual breadcrumbs for myself. So I can remember why we've got the developable area we have. Now, the other thing we need to bear in mind is that, and if you read the detailed report here, you'll know that a creek like this has a 100-foot setback either side. So again, I'm not going to draw anything. I'm just going to right click on the waterway and hit create. When I do that, that creates a polygon in Giraffe, or I should say a line in Giraffe, that I can then use to build a buffer. I'm now going to say offset 100 feet either side. Boom, I have this great buffer. So now I know I can't build anything here. So let's make this red. I'm just going to go over here on the left and click red. And then let's make it semi-transparent so it's nice and see-through. Okay, cool. So now I just want to know what my developable area is. And I'm just going to hit P for polygon, and I'm going to be rough and ready here, sort of within probably 10% of accuracy. And I'm just going to get this shape here. Okay, and we can see very quickly 230 feet, 230,000 feet. So what's that, 5 acres or something? Anyone do that math real quick? 230,000 divided by 43,560. Surely we've got some savants on the call. Or some calculators. And then 185,000. So together we've got, 410,000-ish, just under 10 acres. And if I go over to analytics, if we've got this all configured the way we want to see it, then we could just see that site area, boom, there. And these are all just calculations that anyone can use and build, just like Excel. And again, a great foundation for an agentic AI. So what have we done there in 20 minutes? We've gone and found a site that could potentially work for SB 840. Admittedly, it's by the airport and we might not want to do it, but it was a good example. 2, we've gone and sourced the market comps from Hello Data, one of the best resources out there on the web. We know roughly what this is going to rent for. 3, we've done our desktop due diligence. And again, we've sort of done that without an expert overlay of an LJA. We've done it as a very simple version, but it would be fantastic with an expert overlay. And we've marked up our site. So this is now ready for me to put in a report and say, hey, I like this site. It has the density that we can get. It has a massive amount of area that we can use. It's going to be fine from a zoning point of view. There's really this flood issue, but we should be fine because we've got massive amount of room either side. I like it. The rent support our build cost. Let's share it out with somebody. I'm going to move this from just a nice project idea, a prospect idea, to something that we actually want to make an offer on. And now when I go back to my list of sites, I'll see this as a project that we've made an offer on. And that workflow we can repeat hundreds of times. So in 20 minutes, I can go to developable area yield, share it with Bryan or whoever your trusted consultant is, like Bryan said at the start, and get to, yeah, we like it, to no, actually now we have a real insured and warranted piece of advice saying that everything we thought is true, and if not better, let's go and make an offer on the site. So we'd love to share some of this with you, and we'd love to hear from you about what your flow is, because everyone's investment thesis is slightly different, and what the data sets you're looking at are slightly different to the next guy. But you can see what Giraffe is doing is trying to build this ecosystem of data, people, and technology that can help build a feasibility machine for your firm so we can unlock this housing problem across the globe, but specifically here in the US. I might open it for questions. And then if I've missed anything, David or Bryan, I'm happy to dive into some detail as well. Do we have questions on the thread?
Nothing on the thread as of yet. But maybe you could talk a little bit, you're showing the Regrid app, you're showing the Hello Data app. Talk about apps in the context of Giraffe, James.
Yeah, sure. So Giraffe is a map pencil calculator, as David spoke about at the start. But what we've been doing since the beginning is laying the digital foundation for people to build solutions on top of Giraffe. Hello Data have an incredible data set. Regrid have an incredible data set. Neuron.build has an incredible engineering services API. So there are all these subject matter experts out there in the market that need a way to interface and have a central conductor. And Giraffe can be that place where there's a central conductor between all the different systems. Apps are a great way to do that. And a lot of our apps, we're now leveraging AI to build them because it's so quick and easy to build. But think of it as your iPhone. How do you, go and interface with some very specific piece of knowledge? Well, you want to go and open up the app. So Giraffe has that same concept on the right-hand side. Anyone can build an app for Giraffe. And with the large language learning models, it is so damn simple to build apps for Giraffe. It's frightening. I do think this is the real future of software, is having everything interconnected and using agents to talk back and forth with each other. And we're right on the cusp of true AI workflows. And I don't know if there's a better platform than Giraffe to connect them all together for the property developer. Does that answer the question, or is that too theoretical?
No, it sounds on the money to me. Any other questions coming through? I think we got a quiet group today. They're carefully contemplating and reflecting on what we've shared.
Yeah.
We do have a question asking if it can be tied to an LLM. And I think that's slightly different than what James was talking about with using the LLM to create the app. But what about creating an LLM app?
Yeah, great bloody question. I've done it, and we're working on little bits and bobs with it right now. Short answer is yes, absolutely you can. The LLMs are so smart. It's just doing it in a way that's intelligent, and that's where think of that as current focus R&D for Giraffe. But I, for instance, had an LLM app that went and hit the Regrid API, which was incredible. That was very fun. And so you could type in it, go find me sites that are in Travis County, greater than 10 acres, and give me 1,000 results, all in natural language. And what I found was the LLM was smarter than the API. So the API had constraints. This is a lot of detail, but there are some constraints outside of the AIs that need to be thought through before you can just throw it at users. So yes, it's an absolute R&D item for us and for the whole world, I think, right now, trying to figure out how they integrate.
James, maybe one thing you could just touch on is, the capabilities for the data sets, such as the different layers and creating templates, customizations that users have the ability to do, so that folks know it's not just hey, we have to go see what this has. It's literally the vast majority of information that's out there available to the public that can be pulled in.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. And that's a great point. Like if you're working in a multinational or a nationwide development firm, the sites in the depth of that detail in Austin is not relevant to the guy in Virginia, right? So having templates is crucial in order to speed this up and to make this a truly enterprise tool. So I'll just show you that really quickly. When I hit new project here in my workspace, I've got tons of templates, and these templates do all sorts of different things. They may find me the due diligence data sets that I want, or they may do specific cost modeling or analytical workflows like I was showing on the right-hand side at the end. So good example, I'll go bring in the Houston demo layers, and the Houston demo layers then go and get City of Houston data sets, which wherever Houston is. And as they now load in, you'll see that they have, their live connectivity coming from City of Houston. So there's tons of data that is publicly available. Giraffe can connect to all of it because it's just a set of APIs, or it can upload it. And curating those data sets so that they're relevant to you is one of the. That's a great point. I might also show this, just if you go down the other end of the spectrum. So if you say left is site searching, right is detailed design and underwriting feasibility. This that we're looking at here is just a dummy project. And you can see on the right-hand side a bunch of calculations that are doing detailed feasibility analysis over and above just the vanilla Giraffe workflows. And this again could be templatized. You see as I move stuff around, the calcs are updating live. So a lot of different potential for customization and then templatization so that your methodology can be codified into Giraffe. Good question. I'm just going to tool around with algorithms here in the background whilst people are asking questions. Anything else that we should cover, or should we let people get back to their day jobs?
I think we've covered what we have wanted to. If there are any other questions, go ahead and pop them in the Q&A now. I want to thank everyone for coming. And then just on your way out, want to share, if you don't mind, James.
Yep.
So we mentioned templates, we mentioned trials. Giraffe is free to try for those of you who might be new to Giraffe. And if you'd like to try out with a pretty well-formed template, reach out to James at giraffe.build. He can share with you the Austin template or maybe even some others that might be relevant to the work you do. I mentioned at the top, we have more events in the pipeline. We have an events calendar, which I would invite you to visit. Maybe Holly could pop that in the chat as we're going here. But we have Giraffe use cases, pro formas, and custom calculations. So if you are someone who does analytics, if you're trying to tie analytics to build programs, this is for you. September 25th. Look forward to that one. And then we're pulling a panel together. We're getting some speakers, and we're really excited about an event in October, which will be focused on ecosystems and AI. So look for more information on that. And I think the best way to do that is to follow us on LinkedIn. We post all kinds of stuff there, from events to new feature releases to whatever is going on in the wide world of Giraffe. And then finally, I mentioned the feature drop, Giraffe 5.4. We dropped that in August. Go to our YouTube channel. There's a full rundown of what's new, delivered by Rob Asher, co-founder of Giraffe. And with that, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Bryan Berry for lending his expertise and his time, and to thank James for the great demo, Holly for the Q&A. And then we don't have to sing him happy birthday, but I do want to point out that it is James's birthday today. So
Happy birthday, James.
we're celebrating him.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Bryan. That was awesome, man. Really appreciate you joining. And
I
good show,
appreciate you
David.
guys.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thanks.
Talk to you soon.